Welcome,
everybody had a
everybody.
good lunch.
Welcome. It's about time to begin. So Andrea is going to be presenting to you. And Jonathan is going to do a brief introduction about her presentation. Jonathan?
Yeah, guys. Welcome to a brief overview of the continuous improvement cycle with a focus of MEP evaluation requirements. That's a very short title, but it's going to help guide you for planning for evaluation this year, which is our year. We ask you to help us to show your support by keeping your mics on mute when not speaking. Please use the chat box to sign in your name and region as well as any questions you may have. We'll help monitor that. We'd like everyone to know that the session is being recorded. So if you don't want to be on camera, you can turn off your video. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Andrea Vasquez from MEP Associates, whom I think almost all of you know. And so, and an overall great person.
Oh, thank you, Jonathan. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to conduct this session at your virtual state conference. I'd like to commend you all on going forward and putting on a virtual state conference. A lot of states have just decided to not do anything, and I think you all are on the right track by getting this information out in whatever means possible. So congratulations on that. This is going to be some information that a lot of you have already seen, but now that it is in final form and we are already in the 21-22 performance period, 21-22 school year, it's really important that this information is Salud.
Bless you, and don't forget to mute.
Forefront in everyone's minds. Okay. So most of you know me. I'm Andrea Vasquez with MEP Associates. For those of you that don't know me, Juliana did ask me to just share some information about who we are and what we do. So who we are, we're a contract research and evaluation firm, and we are based in Littleton, Colorado. Based there because Carrie Semivan is the owner of MEP, and she is based in Littleton, Colorado. I'm in San Marcos, Texas, which is between Austin and San Antonio. And then our other colleague, our other consultant is Marty Jacobson, and he's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So MEP Associates was founded in 1993 by Dr. Susan Duran. Many of you know her. She, after a long career in evaluation and proposal writing, etc., she decided that it was time to retire. And so Carrie bought the company, but Carrie was working with Susan from the inception of MEP. So it was a very seamless transition for us. We have worked with the continuous improvement cycle in 32 states. And there you see all of the states that at one time or another, we've done something related to the continuous improvement cycle. We have worked with the Oregon Department of Education since 2013. So we are excited to continue this work with you all. We are a great state to work with. So this is the MEP team. Of course, there's Carrie, there's me and Marty, and a lot of you know the three of us. This session will focus on a very, very brief review of the 21-22 service delivery plan, which includes the strategies and Mpos. And then I want to make sure that we have enough time to really understand the evaluation requirements for the 21-22 performance period. And so we'll take a look at the data collection requirements and instruments. If you have any questions as we go through the session, please feel free to drop them in the chat room, and Luis and Jonathan, feel free to interrupt me to ask any questions. So you have some handouts, and I put all of these handouts in the Google Drive folder link that was sent to me. So I'm assuming you all have access to those materials. Acronyms. Migrant education is no different than any other subset of education in that we throw acronyms around pretty carelessly. or freely. They just, come out of our mouths. And so these are the acronyms that are used in this presentation. Of course, CNA, CIC, Continuous Improvement Cycle, the MEP, Measurable Program Outcomes, OME, Out of School Youth, Priority for Services, and Service Delivery Plan. And I said that already. So I came across this and I thought it was really cute. I finally remember what Zoom meetings remind me of. Anybody remember watching the Muppet Show on Sundays? Well, when I was little, it was on Sundays, and that's what Zoom meetings remind me of. Not to say that you all look like the Muppets, but I'll just leave that out there. Okay. So the continuous improvement cycle. The service delivery plan is a part of the continuous improvement cycle, and that's where that and the evaluation is where we're going to focus our efforts today. But the continuous improvement cycle includes 3 components: the comprehensive needs assessment, service delivery plan, and evaluation. And this graphic comes from the Office of Migrant Education's CNA and SDP toolkit, and it shows how the continuous improvement cycle is cyclical in nature. We start with understanding the unique needs of our migratory student population. And once we understand what those unique needs are, then we develop a program to address those needs. And that's done through the service delivery plan. Once we've implemented the program, we have to take a step back and determine if the services have met the mark. Did we do what we intended to do? If not, how do we adjust? And it cycles back around. So as far as Oregon, in relation to the continuous improvement cycle, your most recent CNA update was in 2019-20. Your service delivery plan update was just done this past performance period, past school year. A lot of you all were instrumental in helping us through that process. And then we were also planning for the 2021 evaluation. This year, 21-22, you all are implementing the new service delivery plan and will be completing the evaluation for last year, 2021. Evaluations are always done a year in arrears because we have to wait for all of the data to be certified through the CSPR and make sure that the year closes out. And then 22-23 you'll be due for your next CNA update, and we'll be doing the evaluation of the new service delivery plan, which is the one that you're implementing this year. So this is where you can find in statute regulations and the guidance information about the evaluation and the CNA service delivery plan, in case anybody ever asks you, why are you involved in this committee, or why are you doing this? This is your point of reference. So the CNA, as I said, was completed in 2020 by the Oregon Needs Assessment Committee. OME does require all states to complete or update them every 3 years. And as I said, in the CNA, we did identify the unique needs of migratory students. Service delivery plan is where we developed the strategies and the Mpos to address those needs. And this is a model overview of the service delivery plan, which is part of the continuous improvement cycle. Now, one handy tool that we refer to quite often throughout the year is the alignment chart, and that's handout number 1. The alignment chart, and I have it pulled up right here. It looks like this. And the nice thing about the alignment chart is that it has all 3 phases or components of the continuous improvement cycle in one document. So you see the state performance target, concern statements, data summary, need statement. Those all came out of the CNA process, and it's for each goal area. Then the strategies and Mpos came out of the service delivery plan process. And then, of course, the evaluation questions for program results and evaluation questions for program implementation. And it shows how the various components of the continuous improvement cycle are interrelated. So if you want everything in one place, this is where you would look for it, in the alignment chart. So differences between the old service delivery plan and the new. One of the main differences is that we added a new goal area called non-instructional support services. And this particular goal area was to provide a place to address services that spanned all ages and grades, to include professional development, parent engagement activities, and support services. And I think that really helped clean up the service delivery plan. Also, there are fewer strategies and MPOs than in the previous one. And what that equals is a data collection burden that is less for you all. And then more focus on health and wellness and social emotional learning, especially with recent events as far as the pandemic is concerned, though that really brought some of these issues to mind. So these are your goal areas: language arts, math, school readiness, high school graduation, OSY, and non-instructional support services. And in each of those, we have strategies. Strategies describe the specific activities or services that address migratory student needs, and they are used with, implemented with Title I-C funds, money. Now, because they're implemented with Title I-C funds, these strategies are supplemental in nature, meaning that if there are no other funding sources that can address those needs, then we can use migrant funds to address them. So handout 2 is your service delivery plan, decisions, and planning chart. And in there, well, I'll show you what it looks like, but then I'll go back to it looks like this. And in there are each of the goal areas, the concerns from the CNA, the service delivery strategies, the MPOs, ideas for strategy implementation, and resources needed. Now, this fourth column, ideas for strategy implementation, that's huge. What that is as the committee was developing the service delivery strategies, they identified specific ideas related to each of the strategies. So if you're trying to implement a strategy and you're at a loss of how to implement it, you can take a look at the ideas for strategy implementation to see if that helps you. So in the interest of time, I don't want to read through all of these, but I just want to point out some highlights. In language arts, we do have 2, and it's providing the instructional services and then informing staff who work with these students and communicate how to best to support these students. So those are the 2 main strategies for language arts. Same for math. School readiness, we have 3 strategies: using the state developed pre-K assessment, coordinating and providing targeted supplemental instructional services to preschool age children, and coordinating and collaborating with preschool programs to facilitate enrollment of migratory children ages 3 through 5 not in kindergarten. Now, I want to point out that a lot of our strategies say coordinate/provide. And the reason for that is because Title I-C is supplemental, you should first be coordinating with other programs. And if there are no services provided for that particular activity, then you can provide with Title I-C funds. Graduation services to OSY, I believe we have 4. Coordinating and providing instructional and/or support wraparound services to OSY. And then graduation requirements, providing services to promote graduation requirements and college and career readiness. Coordinating and developing post-secondary community networks to provide mentors and/or advisors for migratory students to promote college and career readiness. And then identifying and/or addressing migratory OSY secondary student and family needs to support strong family and school relations relating to graduation, college and career readiness, and career pathways. And again, you have a lot of ideas for strategy implementation. And then non-instructional services, support services, we have coordinating, providing migratory children and youth with appropriate needs-based support services. And then transition models, moving from one education level to another. And then we have coordinating and providing PD on trauma-informed care and social emotional learning, mental health to migrant staff. And then we have the coordinating and providing evidence-based PD on culturally relevant and responsive MEP services. And then we have a parent strategy, parent engagement activities. So all of those strategies then led to MPOs. And there are two kinds of MPOs, process and outcome. Process or the implementation, outcome or the performance. And so you have an MPO for language arts. And this is by the end of the performance period, 85% of migratory students participating in MEP, extended day or summer language arts instructional services that attended at least 50% of the time will demonstrate growth on a locally culturally responsive language arts assessment. You have the same exact MPO, but for math. And then you have the same MPO, except for school readiness, it would be using a developmental skills assessment. So you have 3 pre-post MPOs, and we'll talk about all of the data collection tools in just a few minutes. Now for high school, there are 4 MPOs. The first one, 80% of migratory OSY receiving supplemental instructional and or support services will report that the services they received helped them achieve their goals. This is a student survey. The next one, 80% of students dropouts receiving supplemental instructional and or support services will report that the services they received helped them meet their graduation requirements. And then the third one, they'll indicate the information they received helped them learn about options after high school. So all 3 of these MPOs will be measured using one survey. And then for the non-instructional support services, we have 65% of migratory children and youth receiving MEP support services. We have a PD, we actually have 2 PD MPOs, and both of those will be measured using a staff survey. And then we have a parent survey. So are there any questions about strategies, MPOs, the continuous improvement cycle before we go into the evaluation reporting requirements? Okay. So the evaluation, the 21-22 evaluation will be the first using the new strategies and MPOs. And it looks a little different than it did in the past. The Service Delivery Plan Committee did work very diligently to only include strategies and MPOs that were of utmost importance to ensure that they were appropriate for all types and sizes of projects. As I said earlier, the new MPOs and strategies will be evaluated during the 21-22 performance period. The evaluation report will be completed in 22-23, and it is part of the evaluation plan is part of the service delivery plan. So why do we evaluate migrant programs? To help educators, parents, and community leaders find out what works and what doesn't. To determine the success of education initiatives, to highlight highly successful practices, help programs target areas for improvement, show what programs are doing to achieve excellence, and probably most importantly, because evaluation is required for all state MEPs. So the performance results evaluation looks at hard data, looks at the progress toward the state performance indicators 1 and 5, and this would be your state reading and math assessment results, as well as your graduation rates. The other hard data that we take a look at are your progress towards the GEPRAs, the Government Performance and Results Act, promotion, graduation, Algebra 1, and completion. So those two, there's nothing that local projects or regions have to do for those 2 items. That's data that we collect from the state. The third one, measures progress toward the Oregon MEP MPOs, does involve data that we collect from the local projects. The evaluation also has an implementation evaluation. And one of the main components of the implementation evaluation is the FSI, Fidelity of Strategy Implementation. That's where you as a local project will determine the level of implementation for each of the strategies. And we'll go through the FSI in just a minute. We also determine if projects were implemented as described, determines what worked and why, what didn't and why not. And we look at perceptual and observation data. So one of your handouts is handout number 3, and it's the evaluation data checklist for local migrant education programs. This document has everything that you as a local project need to submit. The MPO it addresses, who's responsible, who completes it, when to complete it, when it's due to ODE, and when it's due to Meta. On the very back, we also have, the links for the surveys. We have the SurveyMonkey link and the SurveyMonkey QR code for the student survey, staff survey, and parent survey. So this is something handy to refer to as the year progresses to make sure that the data is being collected and submitted in a timely manner. Now for MPOs 1A and 2A, those are the pre-post for ELA and math. We have an assessment tracking form, and if anyone from ODE is on, feel free to chime in. It looks like that, but it was entered, I think, into your folders, and it's called, well, it was called Building Form 2, but I think ODE was going to change the name. Juliana, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. And as for last year, yeah, it was called Building Form 2. But no, for this year, meaning 21-22, we're maintaining the assessment tracking form label. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you should be able to find that in your folders for where it says Meta. If you click on it, you'll find the assessment tracking form. And basically it looks like this. You enter student name, migrant ID, grade, PFS, non-PFS, the reading pretest score, reading post-test score. It'll automatically calculate the gain, math pretest score, math post-test score. And then once all of the data collection is completed and uploaded into your Google folder, then I go in and I download the data that I need. Now, as far as pre-post testing, the preferred types of scores for reporting results toward the MPOs are raw scores, scaled scores, or RIT scores if you use the NWA map. Now, we don't want percentages. We really do want the raw scores or scaled scores. Types of assessments can be formative or interim assessments. Examples may include classroom assessments, teacher developed assessments, assessments embedded in online reading and math intervention. I know at one time y'all were using Stride Academy. Those assessments are fine. State assessments and course grades are not appropriate for measuring progress towards the MPOs requiring pre-post test results, because there's no way you can definitively say that the Title I-C had an impact on growth on state assessment or grades, since Title I-C is a supplemental program. Are there any questions on the pre-post? Okay. So for MPO 3A, similarly, it's a pre-post, but this data is collected through the ODE's pre-post milestone spreadsheet in the 21-22 service log. And so the program coordinators would report pre-post test scores and submit through your folder in your Google Drive. And same situation, we go in once it's all said and done, download what we need to be able to analyze, synthesize and analyze the data. Any questions on that one? All right, so MPOs 4A, 4B, 4C, these are all student surveys, and it's just one survey. Projects facilitate completion of the online student survey by September 9th of 22. And if there are any paper versions completed, submit to Meta by September 15th, 22. And it looks like this. That might be hard to read, but it is handout number 5. And it's also, you have the student survey, the SurveyMonkey link and the QR code on the back of the data needs checklist. but I'll open it in Word so that you can see it. The QR code is also on here. It's really easy for students to use QR codes, and so it's preferable if they use the online version. But if for whatever reason they can't, I will certainly accept paper copies. So they mark their district or service center, their grade, or if they're an OSY, do not attend school, and then answer these questions. And it's in Spanish as well. And it's the same exact information in the SurveyMonkey link.
I have a quick clarifying question on that. Those surveys are going to be done probably at the end of the school year, even though they're due September 9th, right? And so at the end of the school year, we grab all the migrant kids and have them complete the survey.
Correct. Now, there are some states that do this twice a year because there may be opportunity, it's a highly mobile population. So you know that if they do come and go, there's no harm if the same student takes the survey twice, once mid-year, once at the end of the year. That's fine. So that's one option. If you know you're going to have a captive audience, at the end of the fall semester and then at the end of the spring semester, by all means, you can do it then. But you're correct, Jonathan. These are intended to be done annually.
But the results will probably be better because they say, I haven't learned anything yet, or this doesn't help me yet. And if you wait to the end of the year, then they can say, oh, I did get something in the spring.
True.
Or the school year.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay. MPO 5A is the number of migratory children and youth who receive MEP support services during the performance period. We get this data from the data check sheet. There's nothing that the local projects have to do separately for Meta. It's whatever you enter into your data system, then that gets carried over into CSPR. 5B, 5C, these are staff ratings. So this is a staff survey on the impact that the PD provided by the MEP related to trauma-informed care and social emotional learning, mental health, and then also using evidence-based, culturally relevant and responsive strategies when providing services to address the unique needs of migratory children and youth. Same thing, it's preferable if they use the online link, but if not, they can certainly use a paper pencil copy and just scan and send them in to us. And this is handout 6. Okay. Parent survey. Parent ratings on the impact of MEP services to support and advocate for their child's learning. The parent survey, we do have it available online and there is a QR code. Parents are pretty savvy with, a lot of parents are pretty savvy with their smartphones. But if not, and for a lot of parent meetings, it's easier just to do paper copies, that's fine. It is available in English and Spanish. You can run English on one side, Spanish on the other. And just a couple of comments here. In the past, the parent survey was structured so that it was after each training. Well, that was a parent training form. This is a parent survey, so it's intended to be collected once a year. And in the past, there was an option for the projects to add lines specific to that particular training event. Since this is an annual survey, we don't have that option because the questions that are on here are tied specifically and directly to the MPOs. Okay, any questions about those before I move to the FSI? The FSI is handout number 8, and it looks very similar to the previous version. The difference is, of course, that the strategies are the new strategies. And what we've done this year for this, check the ways in which the strategy was implemented in your project using MEP funds. A lot of these that were on here are the ways to implement the strategies. So when the SDP committee came up with these ideas for strategy implementation, we included those as ways in which the strategy was implemented. And then we have the documentation that is kept on site for the strategy, any additional ways in which the strategy was implemented. If the strategy is rated developing or below, so in other words, if they rate it not evident, aware, or developing, please indicate how you plan to improve the implementation in the future. And then this strategy is not applicable to our project. Reason. So there are some strategies that will be applicable to all projects, but then there are some strategies, for example, see if I can find one quickly, that will not be applicable to all projects. And y'all may not have any. Sometimes if you just have an OSY, okay, here's one. Coordinate, provide instructional and/or support and wraparound services to migratory OSY/dropouts. If you're a project that has no migratory OSY or dropouts, you would mark the strategy is not applicable to our project. Reason, we have no migratory OSY/dropouts. But most of you will, all strategies will be applicable for all of them. Now, one thing that we see across the nation throughout the years is that you all are really hard on yourselves as far as rating. I think I'm jumping ahead. Yeah, I'm jumping ahead. So I'll come back to that. So what is the FSI? It is a component of the implementation evaluation of the migrant program. It is a rubric-based tool that's completed by a small team of project staff. And it measures the level of implementation of each strategy to determine the extent to which the MEP services are delivered with fidelity. It is required by OME to inform the implementation evaluation of the migrant program, and it serves as a self-assessment. So how do you do the FSI? We suggest that you gather a group of key staff, virtual or face-to-face, to discuss your project's implementation of each strategy during the performance period. And so as you're sitting with your colleagues and you're discussing each strategy, you mark the ways in which the strategies were implemented. And if it looks like you have a lot of them, well, then your rating should be higher. If it looks like you only marked one or two, well, then your rating should probably be lower. So after reaching consensus, you check the applicable rating. 1 is not evident, 2 is aware, 3 is developing, 4 is succeeding, and 4 is what we consider proficient. 5 is exceeding. If a strategy is rating developing or below, indicate how you plan to improve. Again, if it's not applicable, indicate why. Now, that's where I was going to say, you all are really hard on yourselves. And I think it's human nature that, you know, when we look at the FSI and you're sitting there thinking, well, I could be doing this and I could be doing this one and I should be doing this one and I should be doing this one. So you end up rating yourself lower. But give yourselves credit for everything that you are doing. And it's okay to give yourselves 4s and 5s, okay? Now, this is not intended to be a gotcha tool. It's totally self-reflection, and we don't include individual project ratings in the report. We include a summary of the state, of the whole state. Any questions on the FSI? Something else that we changed on the FSI this year? Instead of having the page for you to list all the parent activities and all the professional development activities, we've lumped them all together. So parent activities addressing language arts, the number of parents, the number of parent activities provided and the number of parents attending. Math, number of parent activities, number of parents attending. So you don't have to list each of them individually and separately. And same is true for PD. Any questions about the FSI? Okay. So any final thoughts? Boy, I ended a lot earlier than I thought I was going to. I know you all have been collecting the data for 2021, so you may have, some of you may have some PTSD from that and aren't ready to think about 21, 22. But now is a good opportunity to ask any questions.
Andrea, and I wanted, this is Juliana, I wanted to express how accessible you have been to support not only the regions but ODE. So I wanted to say that, and tal vez invitar a la gente de la región, maybe also invite the regional coordinators to reach out to you, because you are very willing to support, to provide technical support for completing all of these. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have my contact information, my email address, my phone number. Anything I can do to help. Really, the bottom line is the easier the data collection is for you and the easier time you're having with it, the more data you collect, the easier it becomes for me to be able to write the report. So that's my philosophy. I'm here to help you all, and anything I can do to make it easier for you will, in the long run, benefit me.
Hi, Andrea. I have a question, if may I?
Yes, of course.
The last part, when the evaluation part, what is the requirements we have to do that part? For example, if we are doing a language art activities, but it's in person, or had to be virtual, or had to be, what is the rule?
Anything. Any parent activity sponsored by the Migrant program. And you notice it says duplicated count. So let's say you're hosting a parent night, and you're going to have language arts activities, math activities, preschool activities. You can put it for all of them.
Correct. Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
I have a quick one. Do we get to see the data that we submitted for the past school year?
Specifically which data, Annabelle?
I'm wondering how we did as a state on the IFSP?
The FSI?
Sorry, yes, the FSI. I was worried about that data when we did that as a region, because of COVID. I don't feel like we did a lot of PD around the things we typically would have done internally. So I wonder what our data looks like as a state.
Yeah, so it's a good question. And let me see how quickly I can pull up a previous evaluation handout. But just as a rule of thumb, what we do is, once we analyze all of the data and write the report, we come up with some handouts. And those handouts are shared with the state and then at the evaluation planning team meetings. And one of the handouts is a summary of the FSI. And again, let me see if I can pull up. What I pull up will be the most recent evaluation, which is going to be the 18-19 evaluation. And FSIs, here we go. So what we include is like a tally instrument for the state. That doesn't get reported in the actual report. What does get included in the report, and it might just be easier to pull up the the report. Here we go. And so the state has this report, and I would assume that, you know, they'd be willing to share it with you. But basically, this is the 18-19 evaluation report. And some of you may have seen it, maybe not everybody, but so it's divided into, of course, the background information, and then it includes like the executive summary. And I apologize if I'm making you dizzy with scrolling so fast, but here's the MPO results as a state, how the state did on all of the MPOs. And then we go through the purpose of evaluation. This is I'm getting to it, I promise. Okay, and then the demographics for the state. We include some longitudinal data. And then migratory child counts by region, served and eligible. And then here's the implementation evaluation results. And this is what you're asking about, I believe, Annabelle. This was from 18-19. So these are the old strategies, but it shows what the mean rating was for each of the strategies, the number and percent rating proficient, in other words, a 4 or higher, as a state. Now, the only one that gets disaggregated by region is the state director, but that doesn't get reported in the actual state report. And then the evidence cited for the FSIs. Is that what you're asking, Annabelle? Okay. So this is the 18-19 report. It will be very similar for the next report. Then we have all of the migratory students served, regular summer, support services, all of the other things, PD, parent engagement. There's a lot of information in there.
I have a question, Andrea.
Yes.
Okay, so when you were talking about having assessment for the math and reading for the students before and then after, would that be referring to any activity that we have for the students during an event, for instance?
No.
Or is that just for pre-K?
No, it would be for example, if you're providing instructional services like extended day or summer math, let's say you're doing a summer school program. So you would do some sort of pre-test at the beginning and then a post-test at the end. Does that clear it up?
Yeah, totally. Yes.
Okay.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. Jonathan and Luis, are there any in the chat room?
No questions on the chat, so I think we're good.
I just wanted to mention about the report you're showing. Yeah, in the past that has been shared with coordinators. For the new coordinators this year, right? The ones that had the orientation. We have shared those this report also for new coordinators. However, I have to update the website, the Title 1C website, to upload this report, so that if you're a coordinator here and you cannot locate your report, yeah, you can access it on our website. But again, I have to update that. So by next week, it should be updated there, and I'm gonna announce it in an email.
There's a question in the chat from Sue. It says, when is the FSI due?
The FSI is due September 15th, 2022. So you're talking about for 21-22 or for 2021?
I guess both. Okay, so September 15, 2022 is, and then the other one is September 15, 2021.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I've been coordinating with Juliana. I've been sending her a data received to date chart. As data comes in, I'll mark it off on the chart. And so I don't have all of the data for 2021 yet.
Yeah, but we can say that coordinators have been working closely with us, and we're very close to be done. So I want to appreciate coordinators to following up with all of these requirements. Yeah, I can see that the last updated version that Andrea sent me, the chart, it shows that we are really, really close. So I will be contacting each of you if I have more, questions on specific items. Mm-hmm.
And then Sue, going back to your question, there's for 2021, the evaluation data charts that you've seen in the past, those will be due after the new year, after the CSPR is certified, et cetera.
Okay. We're working on that right now.
Yeah. You have less time this year. All right. Any other questions? Okay. That's all I have. Again, you do have my contact information. This PowerPoint was also in the materials folder for the session. So my contact information is in there as well. It's on the second to the last slide of the PowerPoint.
Thank you, Andrea. Everybody, let's give Andrea some applauses. She did an awesome job. Thank you so much. So just to highlight, the next session is beginning at 1:30. So, and that will be the last session. And after that, we're gonna have a main speaker. So if you have any questions, you can still ask Andrea if you have anything to say. And if you don't, I will see you in the next session. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all of your hard work collecting data.
And then there were 10.
All right, so I'm just gonna end this session. Thank you, everybody, and so see you in the next session. Thank you, Andrea. Bye-bye. See you soon, Jonathan.
Yeah, see you soon.